Good evening, everybody. My name is April Demito, and I am going to be your professor for the next 12 weeks in women's health, nursing 668. And I always put together a little orientation for you. You can see this is me down in the corner. I've just got home from a camping trip, so I'm kind of tired and kind of grimy, but that's okay. So here we are I'm showing you, this is what my canvas looks like. It has all of my classes on it. This is you guys, Women's Health. So every week I submit, most of the time, I won't say every week, I submit a announcement, and I do it this way. I think that it works really well for the most part. Now, if there isn't anything like towards the end of term, um, it's kind of the same assignment over and over. I might not do a announcement, and that's okay. But I want you to know that I am available to you, and I try to make myself as accessible to you as possible. And the best way to get in touch with me is email. Email is the first shot, and then texting me is the second shot. Things you don't want to do is questions for the instructor. It takes me way too long to get there and too many steps. I work as a full time nurse practitioner, so I'm answering emails in between patients. So for me, if I've not responded to you within a couple of hours, in all likelihood, I didn't see the message. So send it to me again. On the other side of that, um, I get up really early. So if you send me a message after, say, like 10 p.m., in all likelihood, I'm not going to see it until the next morning. So I know many of you guys are working and you have families and you're doing a lot of your work in the evening when your kids are in bed and everything. I used to do that too when I was getting my master's degree. But for me, I go to bed around 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And so sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. So um, don't necessarily expect a response if you're going to email me that late. Now, let's see. This is what my canvas looks like. And you can see that the course work is put out in weeks. And the first little box we're going to go over here is the syllabus. And the syllabus tells you what your learning objectives are, learning outcomes, textbook. A big change that took place in this course is that now I am requiring the third edition of this book. And it's really important for you to have the third edition because there are variations in the second edition. So if you don't have the third edition, you really need to try and reach out to someone and see if you can get it maybe from one of the people that were in the class prior. Now, um, other materials that you're going to see, there are a lot of links in online classes. And sometimes what happens with these links over time, um, they change address or something happens where if it's a YouTube video, it's been taken down. I don't necessarily know that. I check these links periodically, but not every 12 weeks. So please, 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 if you go into one of these links and it isn't functioning, send me an email and let me know so that I can replace it. Now you can see, let's see, look at the breakdown of grades. 18% of your grade is going to be in the paper that you're going to be starting. And it's a three-piece paper. And the first piece of the paper is due on week 1. And we'll go over that paper a little bit. And it's worth 50 points. So the biggest paper is going to be that week 1 paper. And this is a paper that needs to be at a scholarly level. You guys are master's students, and I expect you to know proper APA format. This page should be at least 5 to 7 pages long, and you need to have at least 5 scholarly references in your reference page. And we'll go over that a little bit. The second paper is a little less, so we can do this one on 3 to 5, and this one is, the last paper is 20 points. You should be able to do this in 2 to 3. So This paper is actually three pieces that should go together. So the first piece of this paper is going to be week one. And then the second piece of the paper is still kind of the same topic that you've chosen from week one. And then the third sums it up a little bit. So it really is a continuum of content. And then we have group case studies. So weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5, there are group case study discussions, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's 18% of your grade. This is a change that I made to the course content this time for this section. Clinical round discussion. You can see that it's worth 28% of your grade, so it's weighted high because I find that this clinical round discussion piece is very informative, and you learn a lot from it. From what I've said, or from what I've heard. And I just actually had a meeting with us, and that a student was there from last term, and she said she found the clinical round discussion piece of this class actually one of the most beneficial pieces of it. So I think that that's an important thing to consider. Now, exams. We have two exams, midterm and final. The midterm is going to be on week 6. The final exam is week 12. These exams are 50 questions in length, and you'll have 60 minutes to do it. The tests are all the same. So every individual, and I just rewrote these tests. So every individual is going to have the same test, but it's going to be randomized. So everybody it'll be in a different random order. We're doing this to try and decrease cheating. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, at this level of education, that cheating still occurs, but unfortunately it does. So we have to try and make efforts to do whatever we can to reduce cheating in online education. So then we go down to the course summary, and you can see in here too, I put everything on the calendar. So let's go look at the calendar for a minute. All right. My internet connection's kind of slow today. So this is our calendar, and you can see that I have everything on here. I don't know why some of these things doubled. I'll have to go in there and remove those because it shouldn't be doubled. I'll do that later. But tomorrow is day 1 of week 1. See, it's moving so slow, and I don't want that. I don't want a new calendar. All right. So the introduction form is going to be due on day 3 of week 1, and that's a requirement, and I'm sure that you've done it all in different classes. And you may know each other, but I don't know you, so I like to know a little bit about you. Sometimes I have students from as far away as California, and it's interesting to know that because there are different health considerations where women's health is concerned in different areas of the country, and I think it's important to know. Um, your first paper is going to be due at 11:59 on Sunday. I give you that first week to get it done. Now, I give you this full week, so I don't really expect anybody to be contacting me asking for an extension because this is week 1 and you have all this time to do this paper. So I really don't want you to request for an extension. However, I do know that there are extenuating circumstances. So if you do need to have an extension for one reason or another, let me know. There will be a reduction in points if that is the case. So I want you to know that. And then week 2, and as we go along, case study discussions are always going to be due on Wednesday. So you can count on that. Your piece is always going to be due on Wednesday, and you need to have all of your responses due by Sunday. Now, when you look at the points And I'm going to show you what it looks like. Where do I want to go? I don't know if this is going to give it to me. No. So I'm going to go back because I want to get back to the main course. And this is taking me longer than I wanted. Okay, so this is back to the main course. Now, if I go into, let's see, this case study discussion here. Okay, this is my view. So when you're doing the case study discussion, I'll pull up a speed grader here so that you can see what I mean. There's no submission. Oh, shoot. Where is that? All right. I'm going to go into modules now because I can't find what I'm looking for. All right. Let's go here into case study discussion. Okay, I'm going to click on case study discussion. All right. Now, this graded discussion is worth 25 points. And I left this on here because some professors like to put their students in teams of 3 to 4 students. I think that we do really good in a group. We don't have huge classrooms. I don't have 25 or 30 students in a group. So what I want you to do is every individual is going to read this case study. Our pregnant daughter didn't want this. And then you're going to answer the questions at the end of the case and post it. And then you're going to interact with people in the classroom. So read their answers, discuss amongst each other. Now, this graded uh, discussion is worth 25 points. Now, if you want to get the full points, you need to go above and beyond what the expectation is for a graded discussion. Now, what's the normal expectation for a graded discussion? The, the normal expectation is that you'll do your part of it, right? You're going to write your study or write your thing, and then uh, you're going to comment on at least one of your peers, and then you're going to respond to someone who's commented to you. And that's three posts. That's minimum. Don't think you'll get 25 points for that, though, because that's the minimum. In order to get full points, you need to go above and beyond that. Also, I look at the content of your posts. They need to be substantive. It's not good enough to say, I agree with you or good point. You need to have scholarly responses that have been cited in APA format. And I look at all of those things when I'm giving you credit. So that's something that I want you to look at. And now let's go back and look at our course content. If I go to home. Okay, so this is what home looks like, at least my home. Your home might be a little different, but this is what mine looks like. And we have course resources, which is going to have um, the manual. And week 1. Okay. Now, for week 1, and all of the modules are set up similarly. So we have our daily devotion, and you can click on the reflection here so that you can go and do your reflection. Okay, let's go back here. And then we have an overview. So with week 1, we're talking about general health concerns. with men and women, and uh, we speak a little bit about the history. And our objectives are listed here, the readings for you to do. And then we have our PowerPoints here. Now, these PowerPoints are new, they're for the third edition. And I usually have audio PowerPoints that I made, so I'm going to have to redo these. So I'll be making audio PowerPoints. And it's not necessary. I mean, you don't have to listen to me drone on, but some people find it helpful. And then we have our introduction forum. And then we have our drafts for our paper. So draft one, you have to turn it in to turn it in. And turn it in is going to check it for plagiarism. You have to have a score. I look at those scores very carefully. And if I see a paper that is more than 25%, and I look at all papers anyway, because it's not just the percentage. The percentage doesn't really mean much to me. If I go in and see that full paragraphs have been copied, that's plagiarism. As a graduate student, we need to learn how to take someone's words and turn them into our own by paraphrasing. And believe me, I know I'm in my doctorate program right now, and I realize how challenging that can be, but you've got to do it. You can take those words, they need to be cited correctly, but then you can't make a paper that's someone else's quotes in its entirety. You need to put it in your own words. And you need to learn how to do that. And I believe me, I know how difficult it is. So now I'm clicking on to next. And week 2 is going to show the same thing. It's loading really slowly. This is week 1 still. Okay. Again, I'm sorry about this. For some reason, my computer is running exceptionally slow today. All right, so let's look at, we know that week case study 2 is my daughter didn't want this. And let's look at case study discussion number 3. All right. So this one is in your case study book, Quinn, dysmenorrhea, and I want you to answer these questions on it. The format follows the same. Okay. Now, week 4 is similar. Week 5 changes a little. Week 5 case study discussion, you are going to pick the topic. So what I want you to do is find out something that's trending in women's health today, and I want you to teach us about it. I've had students do Zika virus or whatever is out there trending in women's health, and you're going to teach us about it, and then you're going to have a conversation with your peers. Then we have paper 2. We have our midterm exam. Clinical round discussions start on week 7, and clinical round discussions are a little bit different. With clinical round discussions, you're going to take a patient that you have cared for in the clinical setting, and you're going to develop a focused note on that patient, and you're going to pick out a problem statement, and you're going to discuss that with us. You're going to teach us about it, and then we're going to have a conversation amongst each other. Now, you'll find that I often get in on these conversations and will chime in and ask questions. And if I ask a question, I expect that you'll answer it. If you don't answer, you might see that there are no points registered. Because if I've asked you a specific question, I will not typically give you points until you've responded to me. And we go on and on and on. Your week 10 will be the last clinical round discussion, because the last 2 weeks you're gearing up for paper number 3 and studying for that final exam. Now, something I wanted to show you tonight, and you're going to be getting a lot of resources from me because I'm like that. A piece of advice would be to get into the habit of checking your email on a daily basis. I would hate to see that you had missed something. Also, if people will ask me questions, I figure maybe somebody else out there has that same question but may not feel comfortable asking me. So I will often post an announcement with the answer to a question that a student has asked me because I think maybe some of you may have that question. Okay. Now let's see. I've got all these things because I have been working so diligently to try to get this course updated for you. And in a course of a week, I rewrote the exam. I redid took the SOAP notes out. I mean, it's been very, very crazy and hectic and wonderful. Midterm exam, that's not what I want. Goodness gracious. Let's see. Let me find it. I've got all sorts of goodies here. Oh, I have it open down here. That's why I can't find it. Okay. This is an example of the paper. So let's go over this a little bit. An APA paper. And this paper was chosen not because it was the best or not because it was the worst. I just used it as an example so that I can go through it with you so that you can have a good understanding of my expectations. The first thing is a running head. Now, running head picks keywords from your title, Women's Health in Illinois. So that's why she chose this. This cannot be more than 50 characters. So you can't take the title and put it up here. That's wrong. Then you need to find a title for your paper. Now, just writing the name of the assignment isn't good enough. I want the title to reflect what your paper's about. So this one doesn't really illustrate that well, does it? Then the university name, the class name, course, and you should have your section number on here as well, my name, and the date. Now, some things that bother me, and I do it too. I use papers over and over again, and I cut and paste so I don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. But you need to proofread your paper. I have had students submit paper with the wrong class on here, with the wrong professor's name on here, with a date like this date would be on there. Please don't do that because that is not reflecting that you have put the effort you need to in your paper. Now, this paper does not require an abstract, and this student has used an abstract, but it's not necessary. So I don't want you to use an abstract. Now, here's the first page of our paper, and the title of your paper is going to be the first thing you write here, not in bold. The title of the paper, not in bold. The first 1 to 2 paragraphs are an introduction to your paper, but you do not write introduction on here at all. That would be wrong. And so many students do that. What this first paragraph is, it's telling us about what the paper is going to be about. Health disparities in women exist in all facets of society and cross all socioeconomic barriers. Okay, good. And then it goes on to explain what this is going to be about. Now, I like it. I think it's a good thing. This is your purpose statement. The purpose of this paper is to discuss the demographics of women in the state of whatever state you're doing and explore the women's health status and health issues facing women. When I write papers in my doctorate program, I put all those things in there. So the reader has a clear understanding of what my paper is going to be composed of. Now, this first area here is women's demographics in Illinois. So that heading should be centered, not a subheading, not over to the side. It's centered and large words are bold. Now, the information in this paragraph is going to reflect this topic, women's demographics in Illinois. Make sure that you're using appropriate APA format. And you can see that this student wrote 2 paragraphs on here, actually 3, on that particular topic. The next one, Illinois women's health status, centered and bold. Now, the following sentences are going to reflect this. And also, another thing that I see is sometimes paragraphs are way too long. Now, this paragraph is a little bit on the long side, but it's okay because all of this information is about the same topic. Remember, if you are writing sentences, a paragraph has to be at least 2 sentences to be considered a paragraph. When you're writing a paragraph, that paragraph should have one topic. So if your topic changes, you need to write a new paragraph. And it's okay to have multiple paragraphs. Remember, as long as you have 2 sentences in there, you have a paragraph. Then health issues facing women. You can see that this is bold and centered. So these sentences are going to be directly related to what she wrote there. And all scholarly papers have a conclusion. And what this conclusion is, it's going to sum up the contents of your paper. The one thing you do not want to have in your conclusion is new content. You shouldn't have anything in your conclusion that already hasn't been discussed. So we're just summing things up here in the conclusion. And then references. Make sure that your references are following APA format. And now there's been a change. You don't have to do this retrieved from, but I realize that some programs have it in there already, so I'm not going to um, go nuts about that. However, just so that you know that that is no longer a requirement. Now, if you ever need any help when you're looking at these assignments, one of the best things that you can do is to follow the rubric. Rubrics pretty much tell you what should be in the assignment that you're doing. And I don't know where my rubrics are for this. I'm going to have to find out about that. Where my rubric is for that. I will have to find it. Okay. But I know that there's one for the papers. So let's see if I can find it for the paper. If I click on here. All right, here's our rubric, our nice rubric. And so you can see when I'm grading my papers, I'm looking at all of these things. Content. Describe the general demographics of the population of women in the state. I've had students submit their paper and they've not written anything on the demographics. And so then we have our ratings here that helps guide us as to how we will grade. Organization and structure, topic assessment, APA, and grammar. So those are the categories that we're looking at when we're grading your papers. And when I grade your papers, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you because I don't have a paper here. Let's see. Oh, I've got one there already, but I'm not going to show that because that's not right. Let's get out of there. So the thing I have to do is I have to find my rubric for the case study discussion because it's not there that I can see anyway. Because that gives you pretty good understanding of, let me look in here. No, it's not there. So I'm going to work on that and I will make sure that though I get you that so that you can see what the expectations are. And also, I'm going to be working on getting things all straightened out for you. Because like I said, I really rewrote this class in about a week and a half. So um, I'm looking so forward to getting to know you all and working with you all. I like to make myself available to you because I want you to learn what you need to know in women's health. It's a very important category of clinical education. If you're going into family practice, in all likelihood, you're going to be taking care of women patients. So it's important to know this material. I think sometimes when people think of women's health, they think all they're doing is taking care of women who are pregnant, and that's so not the case. There are many, many facets related to women's health, and I'm going to look forward to going through all those facets with you over the next 12 weeks. So have a good night, and thank you for your patience.